Let's go!
This is my power, and I'm using it to protect my friends.
Let's go! Let's go!
Sonic the Hedgehog was a horror movie that has been delayed and patched to be a comedy, about the titular blue Sega mascot stepping through a portal to our world, where he gets real. But not too real. He comes across the lead actor from Hop and forces him to relive that experience, while Jim Carrey as iconic villain Robbie Rotten follows their trail. As ironic as I am describing this, I actually do have fond memories of the Sonic franchise. Some of my favorite games growing up were Sonic Adventure 2 and the Mega Collection for GameCube. I also played the first adventure game in Heroes, albeit not as much, and when my brother and I got an Xbox 360 for Christmas, one of the first games we played on it was Sonic 06. Yeah, we knew nothing of its reputation and learned about it the hard way. I once attempted to do an abridged series of Sonic X, but that failed miserably. I listened to Crush 40's songs on an unironic basis, cause no joke, they're real jammers.
Can you see all of me? Walk into my mystery. Step inside and hold for dear life.
I even learned a surprising amount of info about some of the Sonic comics released by Archie, most notably the story about this creep named Ken Penders, who managed to get the rights to several Echidna characters featured in the comic due to a legal loophole, and has been currently in development to a graphic novel series based on them since 2015, and it looks like this. Sonic Mania is also really good. Alright, I know I'm starting to sound like the Ready Player One book right now, but the point is, I have a respect for Sonic. I wouldn't really call myself a fan. I definitely laugh at the franchise's expense more often than not, but I feel that it kinda gets a bad rap. Which brings us to this thing. This game-to-screen adaptation was actually a long time in the making. It went through numerous studios and script developments before eventually starting production, and from what I'm led to believe, this design was actually mandated by the studio. No, not as a publicity stunt to purposely drum up attention, but because someone at Paramount really thought general audiences would accept his new look the same way they've accepted the Transformers or the Ninja Turtles. But surprise, surprise, we live in internet time now, where anyone can and will express their opinion. Whoopsie! So after a small delay, as well as overworking the staff until their studio shut down, the Blue Boy is back and more baby than ever. What did this look like before? I was definitely interested, cause judging off the credentials of everything else, this was gonna be sucky. And just as I hoped, it was indeed. But unfortunately, not the dumb, fun, crazy, entertaining sucky, just the average, corporate, studio-friendly, middle-of-the-road sucky. You all know the Smurfs, the Chipmunks, the Yogi Bear, the Woody Woodpecker. The cartoon character gets disturbingly rendered in detailed CG in order to blend into the real world and hang out with some white dude who teaches them about family or community or whatever. This is literally that, except with less creepy realism, of course. This is not what I'd call a Sonic movie. Sonic is the main character indeed, but the scale and world feel no different than if Rocky and Bullwinkle were in it. There's nothing about the story that is original or unique. It's a road trip buddy movie where Sonic and Cyclops have to travel to a place in order to get the MacGuffin, which in this are his rings that have teleportation powers, and alright, that's definitely an interesting way to shoehorn a game mechanic. But the whole buddy angle doesn't have anything special to it. It's the easiest, most simple. One's a down-to-earth, responsible, straight-laced cop, while the other is a wild and rambunctious party animal. Literally in this case. Put them together, and you have scenes that feel calculated and unearned, including a stupidly forced conflict about the cop wanting to move from his small town in Montana to San Francisco, cause that would afford him more job opportunities, and Sonic is pissed at him because he's lived in that town for years and the people there need him. Why would it even matter? Cause at this point, it's established Sonic is going away too, since the government is after him. It's like the screenwriters are going off a bingo card for what makes plot structure. And they do the thing where they start the movie in the middle of a climatic action scene with a freeze frame going, I bet you're wondering how we got here. But in terms of everything else, it is just so average. At worst, it's bland. At best, it's competent. The acting was fine. Ben Schwartz was fine as Sonic. He could have been extremely annoying with his very cocky, rambunctious, pop culture referencing attitude. And while he kinda teetered on that direction in some scenes, it was at least somewhat balanced in his delivery. It helps that apart from being a celebrity, he's also an experienced voice actor who probably has more control and range with his acting than if they were to just hire some regular celebrity. Now we get to Jim Carrey as Robotnik. A lot of people have been praising him, and I get it. There's no denying that he certainly commits to the role. But what I find weird is that it feels like a very unconventional portrayal. He doesn't really look like him, for the most part at least. He doesn't at all sound like him. He doesn't even act like him. Albeit, this is coming from the games I grew up with. I know there are goofy Eggmans out there.
I'm pissing on the moon!
And Carrey injects life into otherwise lifeless scenes, so on that front, he was a good pick. Everyone else was adequate. James Marsden, aka Hopman, was adequate. He had a very simple role in this, and like I said, he played it adequately. I'm at least glad they didn't put too much emphasis on his home or his work or anything. Like, there's no relationship drama with his wife, and there are just enough scenes to establish how monotonous his job is. These sound like very nothing small things, but I've seen enough of this genre to really grow sick at how focused these are on the new human adult problems and not the cartoon characters you've come to see the movie for. Like in Hop, they put scene after scene of him going to work or being portrayed as a loser. Or in Yogi Bear, they put a lot of emphasis about Ranger Smith's love life. Or from what I've seen of the Smurfs, there's a lot of scenes set in Neil Patrick Harris's advertising firm. Do kids give a shit about this? I know I don't. Do the producers put scenes like this to relate to the parents more or to save money on the special effects? So even though it's a small favor, I appreciate that they've only kept what was necessary and had Sonic appear throughout the entire duration instead of just saving him 20 minutes in or whatever. The comedy was mostly obvious, the product placement was incredibly obvious. This will make you want to go to Olive Garden and get an apartment at Zillow. The cinematography was incredibly standard. The music, from what I remembered, was alright, I guess. The visual effects on Sonic looked good, and in terms of the others, they were serviceable for what they were. I liked all the Quicksilver action parts. I wish this movie had more kinda batshit moments. I know I'm not talking about Rouge the Bat Coprophilia. I'm talking just strange or memorable moments that catch you off guard for a second. Something like the cockroach dancing cats or something. It did have one like that in the beginning, which, minor spoilers I guess? When you see baby Sonic running around, you find that he is being raised by a giant realistic-looking mother owl that seemed like a holdover from his old design. There is no explanation as to why he's being raised by an owl, and I wish it had more off-the-wall stuff like that. The most genuinely exciting moments were during the credits. It teased more exciting and interesting things than what the film actually delivered. If I had to give it a review score, it'd be a 3 out of 10, which is low, but I had a hard time finding real creative merit in this. This is more of an I'm not mad, I'm disappointed score. Despite that, I put it above all the other shit that I mentioned because, unlike those, I at least got the impression that the people behind this cared about Sonic. Not just for taking the time and money to fix him, but they threw in a lot of Easter eggs and cute little references, with the most surprising one being Sonic making an appearance. That was a weirdly deeper cut than I expected them to go to, which I think makes me all the more displeased that the final product didn't feel like a Sonic thing. It's just Alvin and the Chipmunks again, but with a blue hedgehog. Say what you will about Detective Pikachu, but it felt like Pokemon. It had all the Pokemon hallmarks involved, but it also had an interesting premise and perspective that you wouldn't think that franchise would take, but it felt right. So even if I may choose this over Peter Rabbit, the fact that that's what it has to compete with is sort of telling. Regardless, if they make a sequel, which by the look of things does seem likely, I'd actually be interested in checking it out. I hope they'll take advantage of the worlds the games are set in, and the extended cast as well. I'd also like to see more of Jim Carrey as Eggman. And if they want to drag in the humans too, fine, can't be any worse than the other time they did it. But what I hope for most of all is that they release a cut of this movie with the original design. There are so many scenes in which I think to myself, how did this look before? Because keep in mind, this was intended before they came to their senses. Please, Paramount, have this be on Blu-ray. I might actually buy it if you have that full version. Anyway, let's hope the future of Sonic on the big screen is more exciting than this. I already gave out the rating earlier. Whatever, I'll do it again. 3 out of 10. Try it again.
You can go again. Don't fall behind. See, don't be late. 7 seconds. Destination heaven. 6 5. Stay alive. 4 3. Now shoot me. 2 1. We're going to have fun.